Hello and welcome to the Backdrop Developer Meeting. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is the 28th of August 2025 in most parts of the world. And we're just, for our Backdrop user group, we're just going to do some talks about Backdrop related topics, just very briefly, but we'll start with some introductions. My name's Martin Price. I'm a Backdrop developer in Northeast England. I contribute to a number of contributed modules and sometimes to core, and I build Backdrop websites for clients. Tim?
Couldn't find my unmute button. I'm Tim Erickson. I'm St. Paul Tim on the internet. I'm in Deerwood, Minnesota, and yep, I'm on the PMC for Backdrop, but I've really not been doing as much lately as I'd like to. This is, by the way, the user group, not the dev meeting.
Sorry,
It's
did I
okay.
say it
You
wrong?
said the developer meeting, yeah.
Sorry.
It's the user group meeting today, and yeah, that's it. Izzy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Izzy. I'm in Vancouver, BC. I'm a freelance developer and site builder, and I'm enjoying what I can do with Backdrop. So here I am.
Okay. Well, Martin, you said, so as you said, we're going to just do some sort of informal lightning talks today. It seems like we have a little bit of a light load, so this might be short today, but that's okay. You had something to start with, and then we were going to maybe talk a little bit about GitHub and monitoring the issue queue right before the release. Do you want to go ahead with yours first? Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay. Should be able to see my screen now. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah,
Not showing up yet.
it says,
Okay.
I think there's been an update to Zoom, and it says Martin has started screen sharing. And then at one point it said I'm not seeing anything though, but it said I have to double click.
There
There
it
it is.
comes.
There it came.
All right. Yeah, the green square's gone around it now. Right. I'm the maintainer of block reference. Someone else ported it to Backdrop, and I took over a few years ago and um, just to try and make sure that some issues got fixed. But we've had a feature request, so I'll demonstrate it in a little while. So at the moment, when you add a block reference field, you can select which modules um, should be selectable by that field. And that's really helpful in limiting the list. But if you say you're wanting to say, actually, in this scenario, I'm only going to want a couple of web form blocks, or I'm only going to want a few view blocks, but you've actually got dozens or even more view blocks or web form blocks. So there's this request that actually, if uh, you should be able to limit which modules there are. And at the moment, there's no functionality in the user interface. But what there is, block reference, and many modules do this, they have an API file. And that means that there are some that means that there's a function that the module implements that you can implement in your module, and the block reference module will pass things to your module, so you can then do things with. So I'll just quickly show you block reference configuration screen. So when you've added block reference, you get to choose which modules defining blocks can be referenced. So common ones are going to be views and web form, but there might be it's possible there would be other ones that you'd want to embed, particularly in other modules that implement blocks. But my examples here, I'm going to focus on this. So what you can do, you can select views, and you can select a news. You can select a block. What I'll quickly do is I'll just quickly disable this particular one, and then it should show. No, I've broken it. Yes, I've somehow put a plus sign in there. Okay, let's reload that again. Okay, so now we can see all the different views blocks that are in here. And what I've simply done is created a very custom module. Now, to create a custom module, all you need is a folder to put it in. I put mine in modules custom, and I can put an info file in, and I can put a module in. So let's just re-enable that particular entry. So I've used the devel module to look at what's being passed into this, which helped me to write this function and know the structure of how things are passed into this particular hook. So if we go back to the page and we just refresh this, we will see now that only this news display is selectable. And if I go to create any content using this field, that will be the only one that's selectable. So you can really limit it. And the same goes for web forms. You can all you do is just limit it to the modules you want, and work out what block you actually want to include and exclude the rest. So I just I discovered that today when I was just having a quick look at the module to see how easy it would be to limit it, because I was doing it for a particular site, and so actually it's really easy. So I've just implemented a small custom module that enables that. Any questions?
Scroll to the top of the page. Where are you again right now?
So I am on the config for a block reference field. This is what is being passed in.
Sure.
And so what I'm doing is looking in the instance to see if it's to get the field name.
Yeah.
and then I've entered the particular block. It basically consists of the module and then the block delta. So if you look at one of these, it's got the module and then the delta, and that's what this key consists of. So I've entered those into my custom module, and just put them into an array so that we can limit it and basically take off any blocks that don't match.
Sure.
So
I assume this would be a way to limit what's showing up in the layout interface too for available blocks.
No, this is just for the block reference field.
Okay,
so
only works for block reference field. Okay.
So the block this is a hook that is provided by the block reference field.
Oh, I see.
So,
Okay.
And despite maintaining the module, it's the first time I've looked at that, but I thought it would be worth sharing sharing that. So block reference, you can add it to paragraphs, you can add it to nodes, and wherever you can possibly add it to any other fieldable entities, and wherever it appears, you can embed blocks. So it's a good way to embed blocks within pages if you want. So, and this just enables you on a site-by-site basis to give a bit more configuration for each field.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
the
you.
block reference module is very useful. And as you were describing, when you're creating content, you end up with an area that you can select a block that you want to also have attached, like it was in a field for that node content or paragraph content that you're creating. And what you've done here is with your custom module, you've hooked into that module, the block reference module, and you're controlling which of the blocks in your system are actually available.
Yeah, on a particular field.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it just occurred to me that if we're done with that topic, right?
Yeah.
So yesterday, the three of us were all in office hours, and a little plug if you're watching this and haven't been to office hours, it's a great place to hang out and just talk about things like this. Yesterday, we had a long discussion about progressive web apps, and I thought we'd do a quick summary right now. I'm hoping to actually do a demo the topic came up because I have a client who's interested in an app for his website. I'm not sure he needs a full app. I'll be meeting with him shortly to discuss whether or not a progressive web app might meet his needs. And we'll talk about what that is in just a second. There was a module to help build progressive web apps for Drupal 7 sites. The module has been ported and is available for Backdrop, but it's not been released. And I heard that it might be usable. Izzy just reported having some testing it since yesterday, and he had some problems, but I haven't had a chance to check on those myself. Just a second. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So the PWA is the name of the module. I think both Herb and Laren have helped work on this, but nobody is listed as a current maintainer. Then I haven't got confirmation that anybody's actually using this for a real project, but a number of people have expressed interest in this topic. And if anybody is thinking about or wants to work on this, I would invite them to. My team may be putting some time into this, depending on how this meeting with the client goes and getting this working. If we get it working and beat anybody else, we'll do a demo of it. But again, I don't know yet. Real quickly, what a progressive web app is it basically sort of wraps something around your website and allows people to download it onto their phone and use it like an app, although really there's no app specific features. It's just a button, an app button on your phone that allows you to access the website like it were an app, and it has a couple of other benefits. You use something. I'm a little bit fuzzy on how this works, but there's something called a service worker that helps cache data to your phone. So one of the differences between a progressive web app and just viewing the site in your browser is that the progressive web app will cache a lot of the assets and some of the content for your site on your phone so that you can at least do limited interactivity when you're not connected to the web. I think that's one of the big advantages. Some of the disadvantages are things like by default, progressive web apps are just something you download from the website. They don't go through the web app store, which some people consider a disadvantage because if one of your goals is to create an app so that people find your site through the app store, I guess it doesn't necessarily. There are ways I think to convert your progressive web app into something that you could put into the app store, but that's a little bit beyond my knowledge. Anyway, so that's sort of what a progressive web app is. Wilbur in office hours yesterday said he has done one for modern Drupal, and that and some of the research I indicated suggests that it, in theory, is pretty easy. It's something you might be able to do in a couple of days or less. Is create a progressive web app. There's a big. What I think the module does is it creates this manifest.json file, which it sort of helps define how your progressive web app is going to work. And you don't need this module to create a progressive web app, but I think what the module does do is just make the creation of this manifest.json file a lot easier. My understanding is that the server worker is like a JavaScript file that does a bunch of stuff, and I don't know if it uses. Yeah, I'm not sure if the module helps with this service worker as well, or if that's something you have to configure. But according to Wilbur, I think his words were that setting this up is really just a lot of getting the configuration right, and then you've got a progressive web app. So if anybody has experience with that and would like to come at a future user group meeting and show us what you've done, that would be great. Or maybe I'll get a chance to play with this in the next couple of weeks and can share what I learned. Martin and Izzy, you were both there. We talked about this for like an hour yesterday, I think, in office hours. Did I hit the key points?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we discussed that it wouldn't be suitable for every website, but but there will be some websites where there's a strong use case for having the ability to sort of install the assets on and some of the content on your device, so you've got it when you don't have internet access.
Right. Yes. I mean, to be absolutely clear, this is not an app in the traditional sense, so it doesn't have access to things like the location or the camera and things like that. I mean, one of the advantages of building a real app is that you have direct access to the phone's hardware, right? And that this is not what's happening here. You're basically just creating this package where people can browse your website in an app-like setting. So basically, it's like running a browser, but the browser specifically focused on your
I w-
website.
I wonder if you would be able to, though, because you do sometimes get websites that ask to use your location or ask to use your camera.
Yeah.
So
Um,
in theory, it might.
mhm.
I think there's probably an advanced use case that I haven't explored, but I'm just wondering if it might theoretically still be possible with a progressive web app.
Right. Yeah, I probably said that too strong. I mean, in my chat, I chatted with ChatGPT about this whole thing, and ChatGPT, again, take it for what it's worth, mentioned that this lack of access to the hardware was one of the disadvantages, but that may not be absolute, right? There may be workarounds for that if you know how to do them. And it might be that some features on the phone are accessible and others not. There's
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, I think
Anyways,
the potential here is much broader than you might realize at first. I think the key point is that this module does not yet have a release. So
yeah,
if people want to try it out, they have to install it manually with the link from the code drop down as a URL. But I think there's a lot of people who may not be ready to invest in a full blown app, but would like to be able to have their brand be present on a mobile device
yeah,
with a logo. And maybe it would just be accessing a few features as we discussed in office hours, where something as simple as a municipal government website might have some particular information that's important, like what to do in a disaster or what to do with recycling or whatever else. So some of those things they might want to make quickly available to people at the touch of a finger on a website or on a mobile device, but without having to invest a whole lot of money into an app development. So I
yeah.
think it's got,
As you said yesterday, is the you can just create like a shortcut, which is an icon to a web page on a browser on a phone, but that's a little weird process that I think a lot of people are not aware of. And like if you're a news site and you wanted your users to do that, you'd have to sort of describe how to do that. It's a lot easier to just say download this app. Right? They click a button, and my understanding is that's how it works. Is you literally have like a download link on your website, and then people download it directly to their phone just that way. And I think it, like you say, just gives you that brand presence on the phone. Uh, I'm I've been led to believe that like news sites are a classic use case for this. It's a news site that I'm investigating this for. Um, I'm not sure if this is true or not. Again, it came from ChatGPT, but it suggested that the Washington Post had embraced a progressive web app. And it said, oh, go download their app to see. Well, I'm not sure if they have like a traditional app and a progressive web app, or I know I have the Washington Post app on my phone, but I'm not 100% confident it is actually a progressive web app. But I think the point is certainly that that's the type of organization that I think does have a really good use case for like
yeah,
a
I think it
progressive
would
web.
be, I think it would be great also for advocacy websites,
Mhm. Sure.
to be able to distribute themselves easily on mobile um, with a limited budget. So I can see a lot of potential with a tool like this.
Okay. Well, just wanted to introduce this topic because I think a lot of people aren't aware that this is even an option. And be fun to see a little more experimentation with this in the backdrop community. This was a big sort of buzzword. People were talking about progressive web apps as the future of the web like 5 or 6 years ago. And it's like most things, the hype has died down, but they're still out there. So we should talk more about them. I think enough on that topic. Um, I think the only other thing is Izzy shared some links this week that he uses to browse the GitHub. And we do have a feature freeze in a couple of days for Backdrop Core. And we thought it might be useful to just for a couple of minutes. We've done this before, but I think it doesn't hurt to do it again for those who haven't seen it. If you're interested at all at like seeing what's going on in the core issue queue or contributing in a low level or a high level is great. But if you're a beginner at contributing, the first thing to do is just get into the issue queue. And sometimes that in itself is intimidating. Like, how do I get started? Izzy, do you have your links handy?
Yeah, I'm ready to. I'm ready
want
to
to share?
go. I can. Yep, I'll share my screen.
I'll let you share. And then I thought after Izzy's done, maybe Martin and I could just share sort of. I think how you access the issue queue is very personal. There's so many different ways to sort of organize and do that. And Martin and I could maybe just. I shouldn't speak for Martin. I can sort of share some of the things I do. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So, I've been around the Drupal community for, 17 years or something like that.
Mhm.
And one of the things I found as I was kind of just learning things was that Drupal, like Backdrop, has recent content on Drupal. It's drupal.org/tracker. And you could see all of the different things that were flowing by that people were working on. And I used to find that to be a really nice way to kind of get an idea of different things that were happening. And I was looking for the same kind of thing on Backdrop. And there are a couple of things, even though Backdrop is a lot of the issues are on GitHub. There are some links that get you there. So the two that I found interesting are the core issues, and you can look at the core issues, and you can organize them by which ones are last updated. So the most recent one is actually on the top. And you can just scroll through them and browse the titles and click on whatever appeals to you and see what is going on. There are other ways you can look at this that you'll see people show, like the labels to see if they are there are milestones to see which issues are coming up for the next release, 132, and also to see if you could click on a particular thing like ready to be committed, or I'm getting other stuff interfering with my screen here, and that will show you a list of the different issues that are in the same category. So it gives you an easy way to find out what's going on, and maybe you may find an issue here that is of particular interest to you, or that you've had some experience with the problem that you might feel more comfortable adding a comment and contributing. So I think it's a good way to get started. What I was interested also in is what about all of the different contrib modules? How do you get what's currently happening across the board? And I found that this link here is essentially the way you do it. It's not a list. Each of these things are blocks, and they have at the top the name of the actual project. So here's the block reference, just happens to be at the top of the list. What's recent, because this has been ordered by what's recently been updated. You could change that if you wanted to see it in a different order. And you can just, again, scroll down. Ubercart's there. People are working on the HTMX, Markdown. So, sometimes if you're just kind of having a coffee or something and you might want to just browse around and see what's happening, it's there. It's an easy way to do it. And it's actually, you can find these other links here on the sidebar, So you can do similar things with the pull requests or the other repositories that are in here. But this was what I thought was kind of a cool thing to be able to look at is what are people working on now? So those are the two links. And of course, everyone, if you don't know already, there is the Zulip chat where you're welcome to go into and join that to have real time discussions with people about things that you're dealing with. So those are the two that I wanted to share.
Sure. These are great tips. The way you're accessing contrib issues is a little different than how I do it, although your way is probably more manageable than my way. My way is a little more obsessive. I actually subscribe to the entire contrib email notifications for the entire contrib repo project.
Oh, wow.
And so
You got a lot.
pretty much anything, any issue that in any contrib module that gets posted, I get an email notification. Now, I don't obviously try to read all of these. The way I use this is I scan through. If I'm more active in contrib at a given moment, I might on a daily basis. Sometimes it'll go for weeks without me looking at this, a week or two at least. But sometimes on a daily basis, I just sort of scan through and I look to see which I can see that here's the backdrop contrib HTMX module. These are, if there's no module, then it's probably core. And I can just sort of see the titles and the activity. And it's sometimes exciting to see like different modules being worked on or started in this way. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend this to anybody. And then what I do is after scanning the list, I just select all and delete. And I've got a backup of 1,500. I won't try to read through all those pages. I have been scanning these and not deleting them. So it's every once in a while I just go through and clear this out. So it's not like this is a to-do list for me or anything. It's just a resource that I can kind of scan through and see what activity is going on in the community. I think Izzy's that link that you provided this way is a little bit better way, and you can just drop in at any given time and see sort of which modules are being worked on. So other than that, like one other thing I'll add, the link that Izzy provided to the core issue queue, if you look up in the address bar, there are the URL includes sort of notes that have to do with the filters. So you can, and I think Izzy mentioned, you can filter, like this is a different view of the same issue queue rather than seeing the most recently updated. It's also nice to see which are have the most comments, because those are the issues that have gotten a lot of attention over the years or recently. And so that's another view. And if you want to come to this frequently, you can just set up this filter and then make a shortcut link with obviously with that those filters on. The last updated is, I think, the most useful one, because that's showing you, as Izzy's kind of already made clear, the issues that people care about today. And sometimes issues are really, they get kind of lost. There might be a lot of activity for a while and then it disappears. And and if you want, part of working in the issue queue is working with other people. And if you're working on issues that other people don't care about, it's a little lonelier. But these are the issues people care about, right? Because something's happened recently. Sometimes there are sort of administrative reasons that a really out-of-date issue will get bumped to the top of this list and then it'll just fade down again. So even though there's no new interest in it, it's just for an administrative reason that's happened. But if you're new to the issue, go ahead. Do you want to say something?
Yeah. Well, just to be fair, I mean, sometimes it's amazing. Just in the last month, I was looking for a particular problem that I'd noticed in terms of how things were being sorted in views tables, and I looked and found that in September of last year, Indie had looked at the same issue and had created a pull request that actually fixed the problem, right?
Yeah.
So, but it didn't sort of strike people as to what's the significance of it. But for me, it was bang on to with what I was actually grappling with. And so then all of a sudden that issue comes gets risen up because somebody like me at that particular time says, "Wow, here's the solution to my problem." Uh, so I think sometimes it's just they lie dormant because other people don't see they don't immediately see the need for it, but it comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just a couple of tips if you're a beginner that's like interested in getting involved in the issue queue. This is over, like, how do you know which of these issues? You can't read them all, right? So which ones to look at? A couple of quick recommendations. PR needs testing. These are good. What I would do is look at the title. Does it sound like something you might understand and be able to contribute to? And then, and if it has the PR needs testing, oftentimes that means that there is a PR. You'd want to skip before you test anything, skim through to make sure it's still that tag is still accurate, because it might not be. If it is still accurate, it needs testing. You can click on the PR. You can usually scale down to the bottom and open up a sandbox site with that PR in it. And if you've read through the issue, you understand what the PR is trying to do, and you can actually log in here. And the PR had there's a username and password. I'm not going to actually log in for that, but that's something to look for and or do. You don't have to be a coder to help test out. Another great way to just get started in the issue queue, I think, is to find an issue that says needs more feedback. And now some of these are fairly niche issues, but some of them are like dashboard collapsible blocks. You could just be a site architect and like say, yeah, that seems like something I would be interested in. Look at that. It's an issue I opened. And you could scroll through, sort of read the issue and comment on it if you choose. And that's all. Sometimes it's really helpful to just have people comment on an issue, whether
Yeah, and
they think it
and I,
makes sense or not. Go ahead.
I think another thing that's useful in these, sometimes someone will ask for a feature, and they might have one use case, or they might struggle to articulate exactly why they need it, sometimes because their English is their second language and it can be tricky. And it could be that something resonates with you and you can think, actually, I can describe a use case where this would be really useful to me. And that can help people to understand not just the need for the feature, but also how it might be implemented to do that. And so it can really help to develop the thinking around the feature request if there's more use cases.
Absolutely. I think when I first got involved in the issue queue, I didn't write any PRs or anything like that for a long time. Initially what I did was just look for issues I cared about. I looked at what was being proposed and I gave my feedback on it. And I learned that was very much appreciated. I know as somebody who's writing PRs, and PRs means pull requests, and pull requests are like patches that fix or add a feature to a module or core. So somebody who's writing in the code, very often they really want feedback. One of the really common ways that beginners can help is with the user experience stuff. Some of our core contributors write the functionality and then they say, okay, now does this make sense to users? And we really need people to look at it and see, how does it make sense? And we have huge discussions about things like help text and labels. And you don't need to be a coder. In fact, coders are often sometimes the worst ones to help with that. What we need are just general public that can look at this and say, oh, that label wouldn't make any sense to me. Or that's spot on. That's perfect. That would be so helpful to me. So um, I think we're not going to go any deeper into this today. We could do a whole advanced session on this. I will mention one other thing I personally have done, because we do, one of the confusing things about Backdrop is we have the core issue queue. And then, as Izzy already showed us, we have the contrib space, and the contrib is like a project with lots of individual repositories in it. And then we have, like, if you're interested in backdrop.org, we have a bunch of backdrop ops. We have issue queues for the forum site, for the event site. These are some private groups that I'm involved in, leadership and ops, but there was a contrib space or a project for UX studies, which didn't go anywhere. But I've created this sort of escalating just shortcuts to all of these. And I've even, this is way out of date, but I used to have links to some specific issues, like the top 5 that I was active in, so that I could get to those quickly. But anyways, these are all my backdrop links, and they help me get probably the most, I use it to get to the contrib space the most, because sometimes remembering exactly what that URL isn't easy. I use it to get to the core issue queue, and I have it set for the most recently updated. And the other thing I really use it for is if I want to go to, like, again, the forum, because it's sometimes a nuisance to remember where that issue queue is. And I just have these quick links here, so I can always get to the forum or the event site. Why don't I have the doc site here? I should. Okay.
Yeah.
Enough of that.
If I can just toss something in here, I think that sometimes people who may be new to Backdrop may feel a little bit intimidated by all of this GitHub stuff. But really, it's really not that, it's not that difficult to just get it, to just scratch the surface of this. Like, if you go into any of these issues, you can, as you're reading them, if it's something that is interesting to you, you could leave a comment. But if you just want to, you can subscribe. You can click on the subscribe button. So that will require you to create an account. But you don't have to be a coder or anything like that. You just create an account on GitHub, and then you can subscribe to the issue, and then you will receive notifications to your email as other people are working on it. So the bar for entry is not that high. And I would encourage people who have an interest in Backdrop to feel like it's okay to take the next step and actually participate a little bit more and look at what's going on in GitHub. That's my plug.
I think well said, Izzy. Thank you. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add, Martin? Or
no, and I tend to normally I will find things that that I have an interest in working in. Some of the times when I end up jumping on an issue is because I've experienced it myself, and then sometimes I can see a way to fix it, or I want to help get the solution that's already there over the line. But also, there are sometimes I've got PRs or I've got issues that I want to get over the line, and it's good to have other people. So I try to do reverse reciprocity. I will help people out with their issues in the hope that they will help me with mine. And I will say that in general, that tends to work. There's no hard and fast rule, but people are more likely to help you if you help them. So if people are asking for testers and you go in and you give something a good test and provide your feedback, then you're more likely to get help when you ask for it later. It's just it's just sort of how things work, and it encourages people if you get involved in and give feedback to people, so people feel more inclined to, more inspired to help.
Yeah, Martin, I would definitely want to second all of what you said there. I was kind of bemoaning this on the Zulip chat earlier this week uh, because I had taken an interest in a module that a couple of hundred people, well, the telemetry in Backdrop is way underrepresented. There's a lot more usage than the numbers show, but anyway, more than a couple of hundred people are using the module from what we know. And I took an interest and started to make some PRs. And it's really tough working in a vacuum. You really just to have anybody else who's using the module to sort of jump in and say, "Oh, okay, this would be useful," or maybe you should think about this or whatever. Any feedback is kind of rewarding and encouraging for people when they're trying to make things work.
Yeah. Well, maybe to wrap things up, Izzy, you started with really simple, and Martin and I got things a little more complicated. I think your initial point was here's a link to go in and see what's happening in core. And if you're looking for just an easy thing to ease your toes into all of this, just take that one little message away. That here's a link where you can go in and just sort of see what people are working on right now in core. And that's a good start. You can ignore the rest till later.
Yeah, on core and in Contrib. It opens your eyes. You suddenly see, oh, wow, there's a module I hadn't even thought of, right?
Yeah. Okay, I have a meeting in a few minutes, and it is running past the hour, so I think we should wrap up. What we envisioned is a really short meeting. We, as usual, managed to get excited and drag it out a little. Let's, if any other final words?
No. Next one in 2 weeks' time. If you got something
user group
Backdrop related you want to talk about, bring it along.
Yes, absolutely. Just something you're working on, bring it along and share. Next week, after the dev meeting, will be the user group, the UX design meeting, and that's when we talk about user experience issues. And those meetings have been a little bit slow lately. We could really use some people to help us talk about user experience issues. So if that's something that interests you, come along. And probably what we would do is dig into the issue queue, look at things that, so that maybe a last point, feature freeze is in a couple of days. And that just means our next release will be September 15th. And feature freeze means if it's a new feature, it has to be into core by feature freeze in order to be part of the release. But after the feature freeze, we can still fix bugs and we can still do small user experience updates. So even though feature freeze will be passed by next week, we will still be able to fix user experience problems before the next release. And so that's what we would be talking about next week.
Right, but also the preview of the release will be out next week.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in trying that out or testing it, you can take it for a drive then and provide feedback on any glitches if you encounter any.
Yep. Okay, thanks everybody. I'm going to stop the live stream right now.